The Lake Bluff Joint Plan Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals on January 21, 2026. If we could have call to order and roll call, please, Mr. Cook.
Sure. Member Barry?
Present.
Member Fisher?
Present.
Member Miller? Member Russell?
Here.
Member Toll?
Here.
And Chair Peters?
Here.
And Member Danley is absent, but we have a quorum.
Okay. Agenda item number 2, non-agenda items and visitors' public comment time. We allocate 15 minutes at this time during the meeting to allow any member from the public to raise a question or issue that's not on the agenda. We allocate 3 minutes per individual, and anybody present that would like to take advantage of that opportunity, or anybody online?
There is nobody online.
Okay, seeing nothing. Agenda item number 3, consideration of the December 17, 2025 meeting minutes. I trust that everybody's had a chance to review. Any proposed revisions or other changes?
I've got one on the bottom of page 2, the very last paragraph, the very last sentence. The sentence reads, he raised the possibility of using portable or trailer-based storage units for flexibility and code compliance. And I'd like to add code compliance in the northwest corner of the compound where the North Shore Water Reclamation District catches are located. I was just suggesting that they have considered portable trailers over the hatches, not the whole compound. So,
Good.
Mike, you can have that.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Member Russell. Any other proposed changes? Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, agenda item number 4, Mr. Croak, if you want to introduce that.
Sure. This is the subdivision for 1750 and 1776 Shore Acres. So it's been in front of you before for a couple workshops and for the preliminary recommendation. And you all had recommended in favor of it in the preliminary phase with 2 conditions. One, that there not be a separate driveway for 1750 Shore Acres, and that it have a FAR limit of 3,783. It went to the village board in November for preliminary phase, and the applicant raised concerns about how tight and restrictive that FAR number was, and the village board said, well, we don't have to make a final decision here on tentative plat. It's going back to the PCZBA in the final plat phase, so you all can discuss it with the PCZBA, and we'll see what recommendation comes forward to village board in final phase. Analyzing the numbers, I noticed that some of the discussion was about trying to keep the enlarged 1750 lot, which had been enlarged to make room for tree preservation there, to keep the allowable house size the same as what the existing 1750 Shore Acres lot is. And the number that was mentioned during the meeting, actually on closer analysis, that was based on the net lot area, not including the street easement, but kind of a unique feature of our code is that I think it was written perhaps not anticipating that we would have private streets since we don't allow them, but we acquired this one through annexing the neighborhood after it already existed. And we don't mention excluding the street easement from lot area. So technically, currently on the existing lot, they could calculate their lot area, including the street easement, and would be allowed an FAR of 4,170. So that's something to consider in deciding what your recommendation should be on the FAR number. On the other hand, if you were to count the entire new lot area of the new proposed larger lot 2, excluding the street easement, and calculate FAR based on that, you would come up with 6,138 square feet of FAR allowed, which would, which is essentially what would be allowed if this lot were built on a public street anywhere else in town, since FAR is not based on zoning district, it's just based on lot area, calculated the same for all the single-family districts. So we have a draft ordinance here tonight, and we did not include the FAR restriction in that draft ordinance, but we will add it based on what the recommendation is from this body here tonight.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Crook. Before we get started on agenda item number 4, if anybody wants to testify tonight, let's swear everybody in on all the matters. So if you could stand up, raise your right hand, and do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Please be seated, but for the petitioner.
Thank you, and good evening. My name is Warren Silver of the law firm of Brown and Del Pomerantz and Del Rahim Limited. I am representing John O'Donnell, trustee of the John O'Donnell Revocable Trust, who owns 1776 Shore Acres Drive, and Rob Berner, who owns the LLC that owns 1750 Shore Acres Drive. We are just about done with all the issues that staff had with the plat have been addressed, and the only open issue at this point is that limitation, which when it first came up at PCZBA sort of caught us by surprise. It hadn't been mentioned before, and at that time we reserved the right to discuss it with our clients, which we did, and discussed it with staff and tried to figure out what the best approach here is to make sure that the lot doesn't get overbuilt. That said, remember that the driving force behind here was that the existing house, which thanks to a storm and a tree no longer exists at 1750, was far smaller than the other houses in the surrounding neighborhood. And the reason for the reconfiguration of the lots was not only to preserve trees, which of course we're all happy to do, but also to allow for the greater setbacks. There's a 100-foot required setback that couldn't possibly be met on the lot as it is currently configured. And so the idea behind reconfiguring the lots shouldn't then lead to making another error in allowing only a house that's so small that it doesn't possibly fit in with the surrounding area, that wouldn't be marketable, wouldn't help property values for the neighbors, let alone for the owners. And we thought about what the better way to do it was. And, we considered that FAR is a function of lot size. So if the lot is smaller than the surrounding lots, then of necessity, the house that you can build is going to be smaller. On the other hand, to just put out a number for FAR doesn't take into account that there are ways to expand the floor area of a house without any outward appearance of a substantial growth in the house. For example, the house, as is currently designed by the architect, Healy Rice was here with me, has a second story that has an unfinished attic in it. If a subsequent owner decided to build more living space by improving that attic, it would potentially add floor area to a house without anybody being able to notice from anywhere else. So just looking at floor area doesn't do it. And ultimately, I think what we decided was that, given that lot coverage, the 20% in the estates districts, this is a country estate zoning district. So with 20% lot coverage, that would bring us down to a footprint of 5,465 square feet, just by that alone, by virtue of the zoning that already exists and the lot size. But then if we were to exclude the easement area for the roadway, which makes sense, and it puts the lot on the same footing as lots on public streets, it brings the lot coverage footprint down to 5,077. Now, the house that's being proposed right now has a smaller footprint than that and has an FAR smaller than that. But we want to retain the possibility that a future owner might want to build out that attic or might want to put a modest rear addition on within the setbacks that wouldn't be, visible from the roadway. And that would make the house more compatible, really, than with the larger houses in the surrounding neighborhood. Consider that, right next door, it's 1776. With the reduced lot area that would happen because 1776 is giving up some of its land area to allow 1750 to expand. With that reduced lot area and with the roadway easement excluded, which the zoning ordinance doesn't require now, there would still be 11,693 square feet of allowable floor area on a footprint that would be allowable, that would be even larger than that. It would be 16,187. So there, the FAR would be the practical limitation. But because 1750 is so small relative to its surrounding neighbors, and because it's in a country estates district with very generous setbacks and very low lot coverage, this is already a very restricted lot. And if we restrict it further, if we do too much restriction of this lot, then it runs the risk that the new house will never be able to fit in. It's going to be small as it is relative to the neighbors. But modest expansion would only make it more compatible with the surrounding area, not less. The owner is not looking to overbuild here. The zoning wouldn't allow it. And certainly the lot was not overbuilt on its current configuration, but the house was so much smaller than the surrounding area, and it was flush up against the roadway, and it didn't fit in. And we're looking to build something that will fit in, not only by being set back like its neighbors, but also having scope and scale that, while still smaller, is not so restrictive smaller as to make the lot something that would be a drag on property values in the neighborhood or for the owners. Healy, do you have anything to add?
I think, yeah, Warren sort of hit the high points. I think really what, I think the original intent was that we didn't overbuild the lot and we wouldn't build something that was maxing out a property, which is not our intent. But the goal, I think the limitations on the 20% country estate zoning already restrict the property more than another property that would be even a 27,000 square foot lot in a different area. And then, similarly, the setbacks are so restrictive with the 100-foot front yard and the 40-foot rear yard, the footprint becomes much smaller as well to build on. So I think we've already achieved what you're after in terms of limiting this overall size of the house. So I think what we're asking for is that piece isn't really a factor in your consideration, because we've already created a lot that is buildable by the zoning standards and then would create a home that's in keeping with the neighborhood but still on the smaller side.
So in summary, what we're suggesting is that in lieu of a plat restriction that limits floor area to a specific number, that there be a plat restriction that simply requires that for purposes of calculating FAR or lot coverage, that the lot area be the area reduced by the area of the Shore Acres Drive easement affecting the lot. And that would pull that roadway area out for that calculation's purpose, as it would be the case if that were a public roadway rather than a private easement. And that'll get you there.
It's hard to.
Easement's about 15 feet, and it's about 130 feet of frontage there.
While they're pulling up on the screen, just for clarity, the easement is the edge of the roadway to the middle of the road, is that correct?
Yes.
It is, there's a dash line, I think.
A
that
dash
shows it,
line and then
yeah.
a solid line to beyond that?
Middle of the
Okay.
road, the middle of the
little
road
beyond
is
the
the
paved
legal front
surface.
yard, right.
Is this the street right here?
Yeah, it's a 30-foot easement that's half on these properties and half across the roadway.
And, but the middle of the roadway is the center line, is the edge of that?
Right, and
Correct.
that's the legal front yard.
Understood, okay, thank you.
And just for a clarification, Mr. Silver, as you were speaking, I thought you were suggesting that the limitation be the footprint coverage of .2 on the lot, but when you summarized your comments, you made it sound like you're actually willing to live with the FAR limitation in the code, but for the entire lot size.
Yeah,
Is
well,
that correct?
Yes.
Is that what I'm understanding?
no. There's already an FAR limitation in the code
Correct.
that we all have to live with, and that's fine.
Which would limit the house to 6,300 if you went with your new lot size.
Correct. I'm suggesting that's larger than you had proposed at the September meeting. And I'm suggesting that if the 6,300 square foot limitation would be the case now anyhow, it still seems too big to this board, you could adopt a plat restriction that would require that the roadway easement be netted out of the lot area so that the coverage and the FAR would be, well, the coverage would be 20% of a smaller figure, and the FAR would be calculated based on that same smaller lot size.
6140. 6138, per the paperwork that's,
Correct.
Yeah,
okay. Just wanted to clarify that.
okay.
Is there a way on that sheet there with a pointer you can show where the house will plat at?
Yeah, I don't have a laser
Here's a
pointer.
pointer.
Here, right here, right here.
He has one right here.
Yeah, it's this,
Oh, great.
yeah, it's this little rectangle.
Oh, it's there.
The original lot was just this little square up at the front. Trace out that, the original lot, Elliot.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you were here for that.
I
meeting.
wasn't there, yeah.
Was
So
just
this
this square
This little L,
right there.
and then in the discussion, it was, because this is a lot of trees up here, and the old house sat right here, is if we were to bring this back and satisfy that 100-foot setback, that achieved a lot of positive.
And where's the street on, the street's to the right?
The curve up.
Oh, the curve up the top.
Curve.
But the private road is on top, is directly above. Can you show the private road too?
Yeah, it's on top there.
So this here is, that is Shore Acres Drive.
Right.
This is actually a driveway that goes to other homes.
And you're saying you want the house in that section that's,
This
triangle.
would be the
and how far are you from the road there then?
100 feet, 115 feet that.
Seems reasonable.
Yeah, so the little area that Healy just traced where the house would go, those are the setback lines.
Right.
So the house itself would be smaller than that.
Oh.
That buildable area within the setback lines is about 6,400 square feet, but the lot coverage limitation would be 5,465
Excuse me a
on
second.
the whole lot.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Can you keep your conversations, Gary?
Sir? Yes.
If you want to take a
Yeah.
conversation, can you go out, please?
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so that square toward the back of the lot that Healy was pointing to a moment ago,
Yeah.
those are the setback lines. And that buildable area is about 6,400 square feet. But the house itself would be limited to a footprint of 5,465 based on the gross lot area if you choose to adopt the suggested plat restriction to take the roadway out of the calculation, then the allowed coverage would be 5,077 square feet. So that would still be significantly smaller than that setback area, which could conceivably allow for a modest addition that fits in with the neighborhood down the road without somebody needing to come back for variations and go through all that.
So who's in lot 2 now? Is that a,
So that's John O'Donnell.
That's a home.
It's in lot 1, no, it's the other way around.
To the right.
Yeah, lot 2 is Rob Berger, who's owns Shore Acres LLC.
somebody's home?
There's no home on it now.
That's part of Shore Acres.
No.
Oh, it's empty.
Yeah, it's empty. The tree fell on the house that was there.
I see.
Yeah,
So
his intent was to
houses
build a
on both
house to move
lots
into.
Have been torn down.
Torn down.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah. Their intent was to build houses to move into.
Right.
I see. And then lot 1 is the one who donated the, or they,
Correct, right.
okay, I understand now.
Yeah, Mr. Berry?
Clarifying question.
Sure.
So Shore Acres Road is the private road in question here?
That's
So
right.
all of Shore Acres is private?
That's right.
Okay. I was under the impression that it was what you referred to as a driveway along the top
Yeah,
there.
no, it's the road itself.
Okay, that's a good clarification. And then the other clarification is, the village board, I believe, I watched the video, requested us to provide a number on our recommendation, square footage limitation. Is that our obligation, or is it, as was suggested, to let the code speak for itself?
Yeah, I think they were looking for a recommendation regarding the FAR question generally. I don't think you're specifically bound as to, how you word that recommendation.
Mm-hmm. One other thing I'd like to point out, in the country estates zoning district, the minimum lot size is 5 acres. None of these lots are there. When this area was originally platted, it was platted in half-acre lots, or rather, half that, 2.5-acre lots. And so Lot 1 and Lot 2 on the re-subdivision, that's that whole piece of pie that makes up Lot 1 and Lot 2 put together is Lot 3 in the original subdivision. Those had been divided into the large Lot 1 and the much smaller Lot 2 that we're seeking to re-subdivide now. But that Lot 3 altogether is representative of how that original plat was done back in the 1930s. The FAR on Lot 3, which if you add together the two gross lot areas, is 108,782 square feet of lot area. The FAR is 14,478 square feet, and the coverage is 24,756 square feet. So, these lots, as they were platted, permit much larger houses under the existing zoning. So even at, without taking out the roadway, we're still a fair amount smaller than what other lots, although some of the others have also been subdivided. But the point is that what we're proposing is well in keeping with the neighborhood and maybe on the small side for the neighborhood, but that's the nature of the lot size that, the folks have had to live with. And we're asking that it not be restricted much farther than that.
So what's your ask?
The first ask would be to have the only plat restriction be that the shared driveway is already in there, and we're more than happy to do that. That's how Healy has laid it out. If this board still feels the need to limit the size of what could be built there beyond what the zoning ordinance already does, then our suggestion is that you adopt the second plat restriction that requires that for purposes of calculating floor area or lot coverage, that the roadway easement area be removed from the lot area for that purpose. And I can, give Mike the details for how to refer to that easement.
And we're talking about the main road easement.
Correct.
Yeah, the Shore Acres Drive easement, which is a deed restriction from 1937, and I've got the document number and the recorder date and everything. You can pass on to Mike.
And these subdivisions happened before this became incorporated into Lake Bluff.
Yes, that's right.
Here go the confusion.
How do we achieve consistency among all the lot owners as far as interpretation?
Well, I have a couple, since I started this,
Should
Way
we
back in
hear from the
July.
people in the audience first, or before we get into it, or not?
Oh, George, go ahead.
yeah, maybe for everyone's benefit, because Mr. Berry wasn't here,
Oh,
Mr. Miller wasn't here, so it's
I
a little,
watched the video, but I still have questions.
okay. Way back in July, you watched the original meeting?
No, yesterday.
Oh,
the
okay.
video.
So, way back in July, they came before us. Mr. Silver wasn't here, I think. And the proposal at that little lot in the front had been subdivided off of the bigger lot. And there was a 900 square foot coach house that I think still exists. I haven't been up there in a while, or is that gone?
Tree fell on it. Right.
Right up by the road, and a 200 square foot greenhouse. But it was serving as the coach house for the main estate house behind. So it was historically, a very, very small structure for 75 or 80 years, whatever the math is. At the time, when they came before us, their proposal was to build a 2,800 square foot, single-story cottage. That's what the proposal was in July. They did ask that, they were also asking that one little piece in this corner become part of the front lot, but it would still remain around 12,000 square feet, more or less, a little bit more. No mention was made by staff, no mention was made by the applicant about the tree conditions at the time, but I had gone up there, and 95% of the trees are all in the very, very front of that lot, and where they were proposing to build the new cottage would have probably eliminated 70% of the trees. So the suggestion was made to them in the July meeting that if they would agree to keep the floor area the same, the maximum permitted floor area that would otherwise be allowed for that small lot, that it would be acceptable to me if we increased that lot so that the new home on the smaller lot could be slid back 100 feet so that it could comply with the setbacks in the area, and that there be enough lot depth so that there could be a rear yard of 40 feet, which is what is required for all other homes in that area. So that's, you went back.
I don't recall ever having a conversation that the floor area limited was still
If you go
subject to
back,
that.
I said it.
Okay,
I
I did, okay.
absolutely said it, because that would be the only reason it would have made sense to me. But anyway, you came back 2 months later, and you essentially, because I gave staff the sketch that essentially what is there now without the details, and I'm assuming that Clara, the staff person back then, sent it to you, and that's what was used to configure this new property. When you came back, the house size had gone from 2,800 to almost 3,800 square feet. No mention of it was made in the staff report. No mention of it was made in your presentation. At the time, it slipped by me. But I did definitely remember that we wanted a floor area restriction to reward you with a larger lot for that cottage. And, I personally can live with the 3,800 square foot, another 1,000 square feet. And at the time, the board agreed with me, and we said that restriction seems reasonable to have the floor area capped at the original lot size, because we still have the benefit. You could still build the larger home now that you wanted, but we would get that new home back off the street, which the vast majority of all homes in that area are set well back and respect the 100-foot setback. So we took a vote. It was a unanimous recommendation from the members that were present And you said you'd have to check with your client. And then apparently when you went to the village board, this is when you made the same presentation that you're essentially making to us, that, oh no, this isn't acceptable, this is too much of a hardship. And the board has sent it back to us to confirm the recommendation. So here we are. Mike, can you put up those two little slides that I prepared?
Sure.
From the PowerPoint?
Yep.
Okay. Yep, that's the first one.
Where's the?
Just have to
start
get that little
slideshow?
orange thing out of there.
Yeah.
But at any rate, before you look at the slides, Mr. Silver, what you've said in your letter to the board and what you basically said tonight, and this is a quote from your letter, "A floor area limitation based on the current size of 1750, the original smaller lot size, would be out of character with the neighborhood in that it would significantly be smaller than nearby houses and would moreover be smaller in proportion to its lot size than any other properties due to the limitation." So the house would be smaller in proportion to its lot size than any other properties due to this suggested limitation of the zoning board. And I completely disagree with that concept. There are 23 existing lots from the golf course property up north in Shore Acres, 23. 16 of the lots are over 3 acres. 3 of the lots are between 2 and 3 acres. 3 of the lots are 1 to 2 acres. There's an extra like 0.7 acres in there for an easement, but it's a very small driveway and essentially serves as open space. So those 3 lots average 1.8 acres with the open space. And then there's one other lot out of the 23, with the exception of your subject property, that is just 2/200ths of less than an acre. So all the lots are well over that original very small lot that you want to have. Next slide, please. So when you do a calculation to compare the sizes of the home that you want to be allowed, proposed lot number 2, you were suggesting, if we kept the roadway easement in, 6,332 floor area over the lot size, the new proposed lot size, that results in a house that's 0.23 square feet per square foot of lot. The next smallest lot in the whole area, when you do the calculation, it results in a house on the lot that's 0.18 square feet over the square feet of the lot. The 3-acre lots and larger, which is the preponderance of the properties up there, if they all built out to the maximum they could have is 0.13 square feet per square foot of lot. So your proposal actually results in a home that is far denser per lot size than any of the other homes up there. And I say that is out of character, not the reverse, not the fact that the house would be so small. And for most of us, a 6,000 square foot house wouldn't be very small. But that you're working with a lot that is much smaller than any other lot up there. It's a very unique condition. No one else, not any one of those other 23 lot owners, can right now, as a matter of right, split off 0.6 of an acre of their lot and build a 7,000 square foot home, or a 6,000 square foot home, which is what you say you should have the right to do. No one else up there has the right to do that. If the whole neighborhood decides at some point in the future that they would like to change the zoning up there and allow a spin-off of lots, then at that time, you could come back and say, hey, right now, we're limited to our 4,300 square feet, whatever that number is that we were originally proposing 2 months ago. And you could ask to get an increase. But until that time, you're asking for something that's way above and beyond what anyone else up there is allowed to do. Yes.
I don't understand, what they have, and the .98 lot is right across the street, so I know exactly what
Right.
that is. The ability for them at 40, if their lot's 42,000 square feet, to put 20% is the floor area permitted, is an 8,000 square foot house. Now, it is a 3,800 square foot house, that's what it is. But I'm just saying, if somebody wanted to tear that down, and they could build an 8,000 square foot house on the property.
Yeah, I'm saying, if they built to the maximum that's allowed,
That's where
they would still have a coverage that's only 0.18 square feet
Yeah,
per
so,
square foot a lot, where you're asking for 0.2. You're asking way and above what anyone else could build for their relative lot size. You're asking for much more house than anyone else is allowed. You can't ignore the fact that the lot is very small. And that's just my position. Maybe everyone else feels
yeah,
differently, but
and-
that's,
Mr. Russell, I agree, the lot is very small. But we have to remember something. This is not a spin-off of half an acre to build another house. Historically, these were two lots that were of different sizes. The owner of Lot 1 has graciously allowed the owner of Lot 2 to buy a little bit more land. But, there were separate owners, and these two lots were under separate ownership before either of them acquired these. So this is a historic anomaly, and we're trying to bring it somewhat more in compatibility with its context by equalizing those two subdivisions of the old Lot 3, to the extent we can here. So to say we just want to spin it off to build another house, no, that's not what we're asking for. That's not what this is allowing. This is a historical anomaly that we're trying to make the best of. The other thing is, with all due respect to your calculations there, remember that neighborhoods don't consist of numbers. They consist of houses and buildings and people. And what we're asking for here is that as we are working to remedy this historical anomaly that had resulted in a very small lot in the neighborhood with a very small house on it that was built up against the roadway. And we're looking to replace it with a house that can't be as large as its surroundings, regardless of, the fact that they have far more land. I mean, look, as I said, on a a half-size lot for country estates, which is how this was originally platted, it would be 14,400 more feet of floor area. And, this is going to be a maximum of 6,138 if you include the plat restriction excluding the easement area for the roadway. The house that architect Healy Rice has proposed is about 3,800 square feet. It's still very much smaller. But we're also looking for what happens the next time this house needs to turn over. And, who's going to want to live in this neighborhood, and what kind of house are they going to want to live in? And how's that going to work out? We have to look not just to what's happening now, but look to the future of the neighborhood as part of the village of Lake Bluff. And how can we move over time towards greater compatibility of the different houses in this neighborhood and to have greater neighborhood consistency? And what we're suggesting is that ratcheting down this house by zoning restriction based on the original historical problem that we're seeking to solve doesn't make any sense. That what we're proposing is that we allow the zoning ordinance to do the work for us. That's what it's there for. It's in a country estates district that limits the lot coverage to 20% of the lot. Outside of the estates district, it's 30% in the rest of the village, but here it's 20%. So that's going to limit what can be built on this lot. We're suggesting, if you want to restrict it further, you can take the roadway easement area out so that it's more like the other lots in the village as a whole, and not including the roadway at the front of the house as part of the lot area. That's fine. But if you start restricting further than that, then it's going to prevent future owners from making sensible and normal improvements to this house. That might include building out the unimproved attic, something that would not provide any substantial difference in the bulk of the house when viewed from the street. Why would that be a problem? Or building a breezeway or some, some kind of porch, a screen porch on the back. That wouldn't be visible from the roadway. It's a modest addition. It might provide great utility to the new owner and be totally compatible with the surrounding neighborhood. But why restrict that? Why restrict a future owner from doing that? You know what you're getting now because you've seen the plans that architect Rice has proposed for the 3,800 square foot house. What you need to think about now is, as you enact restrictions on this lot at this time of the re-subdivision, are these restrictions that you want to live with for all time, that you think that the neighborhood should be saddled with, as well as the property owners, because it's going to keep, limit what's going to be built there? Do you want the future owners to come back time and time again, asking for various kinds of relief every time they want to build something? Obviously that's your decision. I don't think it's necessary or a way to encourage the kind of development that will be compatible and consistent in this neighborhood. And that's why we're suggesting that the plat restrictions simply be the limitation on the requiring the shared driveway. And if you so choose to limit the size of the house, do so please by taking the roadway easement out of the lot area for purposes of the FAR and coverage calculation. But don't do more than that.
And 2 points, Mr. Silver, and then I'll let my fellow board members have their turns. You came to us 6 months ago and proposed a 2,800 square foot cottage, period, on the smaller lot. And there was no recognition of the tree problem. I came up with an idea to save the trees. That's what I was trying to do, make the lot larger, and that would enable the house to be pushed back and get the 100-foot setback so that it would be very similar to the vast majority of the homes in Shore Acres. As to your point about we shouldn't limit the size of this house because some of the houses in the area are larger, that's totally contrary to the way the zoning code controls the development throughout our village and throughout most communities. House size is almost always tied in to the lot size. And if there's a small lot anywhere in our village and there are huge lots on either sides with big castles being built, that doesn't give the guy with the small lot the right to come in and build something that is 2 or 3 times as intense as what otherwise would be allowed. I just personally think it's inappropriate. That's all. So,
And I will respond by pointing out that that's what we're suggesting here. The house size is determined by the lot size, the zoning ordinance already does that, and there's no need to add additional restrictions to make a small lot more restrictive just because it's smaller. The other thing is, that I want to point out, is that the design exercise for the architect of building a house on the very small lot as it's currently configured is a very different design issue. Once you've decided to re-subdivide this lot 3 and make the area for 1750 larger, it creates a different design problem to solve. And it creates opportunities to build something that might actually fit in a little bit better for now and provide more flexibility for the future. It's something that makes more sense for the village. I think it was a wonderful idea to re-subdivide and to allow a house that could be, that wouldn't have to be much closer to the roadway than its surroundings like the old house was. But the fact that the original house designed for the lot as it is today was only 2,800 feet is not something that should lock you in for all time, especially when the solution is to do a re-subdivision that adds some additional land that allows a little more breathing room for what can be there, and it gives it a better chance of being more compatible with the houses that are around it.
And I would add too, I mean, when we came to you initially, we needed zoning relief for everything. We needed it for the front yard, for the side yards, for everything. And your suggestion, which we were thrilled, was why not pull it back? And
Pull it
so-
back and keep
right.
the floor area restriction the
Don't-
same.
Yeah, I mean,
That-
I'm
That
not-
was
you know,
the suggestion, and it's changed. If,
Okay.
you know, it terrifies me if you come back again, the thing will get even bigger.
That's not.
It's,
that's
but
not
that, you know, you know, there's 7 people that are going to vote, the other 6 may go with you, and
I
that's fine.
understand. I mean,
It's a democracy.
I just feel like,
Yeah.
as Warren has indicated, that 20% lot restriction is a limit that is, you know, I can't build more than that. The floor area is a limit that I can't build more than. You know, every other property in this neighborhood, you know, could build a much larger house. Now, you know, again, it's a personal choice of the homeowner.
Yeah.
And so that's really the, you know, the limitation driven by the village zoning ordinance. So that's, I think that's what we're asking for, is just to be able to put a lot or put a home on this lot that is appropriate given the zoning ordinance limits. And that's, you know, if you wish to ratchet it down with the easement, we can.
Makes perfect
we're
sense.
totally willing to work with that.
Let's, I think a couple individuals from the public might want to speak. Yeah, if you could state your name for the record and,
Oh, okay, I'm Carlotta Rotman, and I live across the street from the property that we're talking about. And I've lived there for 34 years. And one of the really nice things about Shore Acres is the size of the lots. Our lot is over 3 acres. We're right across the street, and we have a 4,000 square foot home on that. And I think it's entirely appropriate for our lot. And I think that most of the homes, as you pointed out, George, most of the properties are at least 3 acres with just one home on them. And they're all about maybe that size. So there aren't that many 6,000 square foot homes around it of all the properties. I think what you're proposing to do is, as George said, an anomaly for the neighborhood. It's going to change the character of the neighborhood. The 2 lots that you have should have 1 house on them between the 2. And originally, it was 1 estate with, then a greenhouse. And so it was always just 1 property. Just recently, one of our neighbors at 1825 Shore Acres, who had about 1.5 acre property, bought the property next to his, tore it down, tore the house down, and has turned it into a park. So he actually is enlarging his land space relative to his house space. And I think that what you're proposing is entirely out of character with the neighborhood. And putting 2 large homes on that, on 1.5 acres, it's out of keeping with the neighborhood. And my husband says, okay, they get approval for that, we're gonna put 5 houses up here. I mean, so, you know, just think going forward what other people might want to do. I think we love the character of the neighborhood. We've been there 34 years, and we love the estate kind of sensibility of the neighborhood, and what you're planning to do is not in keeping with that.
Thank you very much. Anyone else from the public? Anybody online?
Yeah, if anyone on Zoom wants to speak, press the button to raise your hand and we'll recognize you.
All right. Would like to discuss further.
I've got just a couple questions. At this point, if we cannot come to an agreement with the applicants, is it too late to revert back to the original subdivision?
No, it could be rejected and
Right.
it would stay where the whole,
Okay, so if,
For
so
what
if we
the
can't,
applicant-
to just
Right.
reject.
right, if we can't come to a conclusion and get what they want to allow, then we could just maintain the current plat, right?
Well, the application still has to move forward. We're recommending bodies, so it has to be heard by the village
Okay.
board.
But we could recommend to
You'd be recommending to deny this
deny the
application.
re-subdivision. Yeah, okay, so that is an option.
We're talking about resizing the house, the FAR. Because the FAR is what's,
lot.
I mean, the size of the house is what's before us,
Right.
basically.
We would need a recommendation based off of the application that's before us.
Right.
And then it would go to the village board. It's up to the applicant after that. I mean, well, it's up to the village board after that to decide what to do, but
Sure. But, I mean, we could deny the application for re-subdivision,
period.
in theory.
yes.
Recommend we not.
You would recommend
Recommend.
denial, yes.
Okay, okay. I guess one thing, and it's probably too late to do now, but if the intent was for us to allow the re-subdivision in order to save the trees, right, and to allow for a 100-foot setback, then perhaps we should have noted that that area of the trees should not be used in the calculation for FAR. But I thought, you know, I also remember saying, oh, yeah, we'll keep the 2,800 square foot cottage, but still allow a larger lot to save the trees. I mean, I do remember that in the discussion. So, you know, it's obviously too late now to put that in there, but that should probably have been something, if our intent was to keep the house the same, then that area of the trees that we're trying to save should have reduced the amount of buildable area on the lot. I guess my feeling is I'm in agreement with George. I mean, we kind of bait and switched here. We did agree to give you more lot size, but the intent was not to give you more building size. The intent of giving you more lot size was to save the trees and allow for a larger setback. So I think we did miss it at some point. I don't know if I was in that meeting when we were presented with a home that was 1,000 square feet more than the original intent to build. But we'd have to look back in the minutes, and I missed that until George just brought it up. So I understand what you're trying to do, but at the same time, I really don't think that is in character with that area. I mean, I think I've been up there enough to know that they are all larger lots. You are proposing 2 large houses on one of the smallest lots in the area. So that's hard for me to stomach.
Can I ask for clarity, what is the number that you agree to?
If I were to
yeah,
make the
exactly,
motion
yes,
tonight,
yeah.
I would be recommending that it be capped at 4,170 square feet, which is based on the original lot size of 1,750.
With the easement or without the
With,
easement?
with, it, I give you that extra 200 square feet that changes for the roadway easement. So if I were, as I stand here now, I would be willing to recommend that you accept the 4,170 square foot cap, because that's the number that you could have built on the original lot that you had the day you walked in here.
Is that the lot coverage or the floor area?
That's the total floor area.
That's the floor area.
Okay, all
without
right,
the
I just want to make sure that we are all
So-
listening and talking about the same numbers. So,
And one thing I wanted to come back to, because the neighbor that spoke raised it, and you just raised it again, Mr. Russell. We recognize that these are lots that are smaller than in the other the rest of the neighborhood. And I mentioned a few times that the lot, before it was subdivided originally, was 2.5 acres roughly, which is in keeping with the other lots in the neighborhood. But that happened long before Mr. O'Donnell and Mr. Berner came into ownership of these lots, and they didn't buy them from the same person. These have been under separate ownership for quite a while. I don't know the details historically of how that happened, but that's what we're dealing with. And so if you take the position that it would make more sense in terms of neighborhood context for the lots to be combined, you know, that's nice, but the fact of the matter is that it's gonna force somebody to sell land that he may not want to sell to somebody else. We were able to broker an agreement between the two owners of these two pieces that would allow the expansion of 1750 at the expense of 1776, so that something could be built that would be better suited to the neighborhood than what was there originally, the house that was right up against the roadway.
And that's exactly what I'm recommending that you be allowed to do, based on the house that is now designed that the owner now wants.
Yeah.
okay, could we hear from other members?
So you're at, the original intent was 3860? That's a fairly large house. 3860 size of the house, is that?
3783 was the limit
He's
recommendation
asking
last
about
time.
the house size.
Oh, the house, yeah.
House size,
As proposed.
which is right around 3,800.
Yeah, and it's a fairly large house. If you're worried about resale value and adding an attic or adding a back porch, they can always come here and get a permission from this body. We're not ogres here. We do allow things to happen if it's good for the neighborhood, if it's good for the homeowner. I think asking for more, what are you asking for? 6,000?
6,138.
Okay,
We're just asking that the lot be treated the same as other
Well,
lots in the neighborhood.
I mean, 3860 is not acceptable?
no, we're just saying that the zoning code establishes a number, and then.
Okay, but is 3860 acceptable for a house? I mean, it's a lot bigger than my house. What's the answer?
I mean, yeah, of course it could be acceptable.
All right, is 4,100
I think-
acceptable? I think that's
I think the
generous.
point is that would allow construction of the house as proposed by Healy Rice.
Yeah,
Okay?
I mean-
However, you know, to keep in mind that it would also restrict a future owner.
But that's not the point. We're not thinking about the future owners. They can come here and request
Okay.
what the variance, and it's done all the time.
Understood.
So I'm not sure why we're arguing over 4,000 or 4,100 versus 6,000. I think that's certainly excessive in my mind. So I would go with the 4,100 and be done with this.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Miller. Ms. Fisher?
One question, just for clarity for me. When you do the restriction, when you do the roadway easement out, is that similar to downtown lots or in-town lots and when you have parkways and that kind of thing?
That's right, yeah, because most of the rest of the
It
town
equals
is on
out,
public
right.
streets. It would be the same as, you know, all the rest of the lots that are on public streets, right?
Right. So it does seem to, I do recall, as the two gentlemen were saying, the conversation about the 2,800 square foot house that was designed. I do recall moving it backwards to save the trees and thinking that that was going to be the amount of square footage being put forth. if you wanted two more equal houses, and I don't know whether this was even allowed or anything, could neighbor in Lot 1 sell more land to the other neighbor and even it out? You know, that would have been the more balancing, if that was even allowed and such. But I do think that, and there was a comment, I know, from the village board mentioning that, I think it was board member Fisher who said that she wasn't comfortable with allowing a full amount because it actually is a non-conforming lot. And we have allowed a pretty non-conforming lot to happen there. And I don't think it is such an anomaly, sir, for the neighborhood, because there's a lot of smaller, larger, coach houses and different looks up there and everything. So I don't think I don't think it's out of character. I don't think we have to plan for the future resale of things and such like that. So I can live with the numbers that we're talking about on the reduced size that would, keep it at the 4170 or whatever these kind of numbers are that we're talking about, maximum, and keeping it behind the trees, of course, so.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Mr. Barry?
A couple thoughts. I like the idea of, since there aren't many private roads in town, I don't know of others, maybe there are, from the point of view of precedent setting going forward, using the public roadway calculation for FAR in this situation. Hearing all the arguments for the proposed restrictions, I'm having a hard time in my own mind reconciling why the village code doesn't speak for itself and the calculation of FAR isn't allowed to dictate the restrictions here. So I think I present a contrarian point of view to what I'm hearing. And I think I would land in a different place and let the code speak for itself, with the exception of thinking about precedent and if we ever had to do this in the future on a private road anywhere else, using the same calculation as public roads.
Thank you, Mr. Berry. Yeah, we went through a pretty extensive discussion, back in July and then apparently back in September. And I think this is a very dramatic change in philosophy than what we were focusing on in the two prior scenarios. So I'm inclined toward the modest modification up to 4170, but not inclined to support anything beyond that. Again, we're a recommending body, but that's where I'll probably come down. Any further discussion from the commission? Any further comments, Mr. Silver?
No, unless any other members of the board have any further questions.
Yeah.
Do we need to give you an answer then, or did you make a recommendation?
We'll make, there'll be a motion.
Okay,
I suspect it might include the reference to 4170.
that's fine. I mean, we will accept that, I guess, that I want to put that on, so I don't want to have to come back and try to petition for another subdivision.
Right.
So I'm trying to move this forward so that we can move forward with the property.
Certainly.
So,
Any further discussion among the commissioners? Is there a motion?
I move to recommend the village board approve the tentative plat of subdivision in the form of the attached approval order, conditioned upon limiting the allowable floor area on Lot 2 to 4,170 square feet, which is the number that would be allowed for the original lot, and that the Lot 2 access be through a shared driveway on Lot 1, and that's for the purposes of preserving the trees.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Any further discussion? Can we have a vote, please?
Sure. Member Berry,
No.
Member Fisher,
Yes.
Member Miller, Member Russell,
Aye.
and Member Toll,
Aye.
and Chair Peters.
Aye.
Okay, the vote is 5-1, motion passes.
Next up.
Yep, so that's a recommendation to the village board, and I'll talk to you about meeting dates and all that to the village board.
And if I may make a request, Mr. Croak, that when this is presented to the village board, that the rationale of why this recommendation was made is explained, and that the board understand the original discussion that we had back in July, because that is a huge part of where we are today. And I don't think the board was privy to that.
Right.
I would plead that they be given a good explanation of
Maybe you should
how we got
present.
to where we
Okay.
were.
Maybe you should present it, George.
I'm going to be in St. John's when this is going to,
Okay, we'll do that.
All right.
but you,
Agenda item number 5, if you could introduce that, Mr. Crowe, please.
Sure. Let me share my screen here. Just give me a second. So we have the proposed subdivision for a property on 0 Blodgett Avenue, the middle of the north side of Blodgett, of 1 lot into 2 lots. It is located just west of the polo fields and just east of the house that was built last year there. So there had been a 3-lot subdivision here back in 2007, and I will scroll to that plat. And it's, sorry, everything's a little small and hard to see, but George, do you have your pointer? Can I borrow that?
where? Yeah, could you read that third paragraph for us?
Right, yeah. So, so the subdivision in 2007 was these 3 lots, you know, a lot in depth there and a front lot, and then this property, which is the long lot fronting on Blodgett. And this property is the one that's proposed to be re-subdivided into 2 lots today. So this is in between the driveway along the west side of the polo fields and then the new drives for the 2 houses here. And so our code has changed a little bit. Back in 2007, when the previous subdivision was approved, there were 2 variances needed for lot width and lot frontage. And reviewing our code today, it is only for lot frontage for the rear lot. I will go to their actual plat here. This is the new proposed subdivision plat. So the rear lot is, has a stem going out to Blodgett. And our code requires the full lot width for frontage, the 150 square foot minimum. And so that is the only variance needed for this subdivision. Otherwise, they exceed the minimum lot area requirements and
Can you
all the other
explain that again?
requirements. Oh, yeah, right. You want to go to full screen mode, is what you're asking for? Yeah, I'm doing that, yep. There's full screen mode. So there's this rear lot here on this outline has a stem here that's part of the rear lot that goes all the way back. So that allows them to, you know, have their driveway on their own stem going to the back. And there's also utilities and easements on the stem here.
Why wouldn't they use the driveway that's already there on the west side?
Well, the applicant can come up and I guess explain that during their presentation, but I think there's driveways on both sides there. Anyway, so we have some recommended conditions in the packet that are, you know, just our standard stuff about getting the, all the correct signature blocks and all that in here.
So Mike, when you're referring to the stem, essentially that rear lot becomes a flag lot? Is
That's
that-
right.
Okay.
That's correct, yep. And we have the, our proposed staff conditions on the memo there, to add a couple easements and that the accessory structures on the north end of the lot be demolished and the signature blocks be added. In the 2007 subdivision, limited re-subdivisions of any of the lots to no more than one additional re-subdivision. So this would be the last re-subdivision of this particular property, this part of the original subdivision. And that's all I have.
So there's an access point on the right side of this, on the east side of the lot, and then there's an access point for lot, what is it, 2 and lot 1 over there?
Yeah, Lot 2 and Lot 1 share this driveway here, which is part of the Lot 1 property that's a stem for that flag lot, and they share a driveway there.
And
There
there-
is a tree easement that was put, a tree conservation easement that was put along the south side, except for the stems, but it also has a provision to it that the properties bordering Blodgett can put one driveway through the tree conservation easements there.
All right. We have the petitioner. If you could identify yourself, state your name for the record, and we'll get started.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Cal Bernstein. I'm the attorney for the applicant. I was previously sworn at the beginning of the meeting. I thank you, Mike, with regard to the presentation. I'll be short and brief because we are only here seeking one variance tonight, is basically as was noted, to create the flag lot, the lot in depth, and which is also called. This was contemplated, this type of application was contemplated when the plat of subdivision was approved in 2007 with regards to lot 1 and 2 directly to the west of this property. The tentative plan, right, we proposed tonight, it does comply with what was contemplated back then. The property is zoned E1 Estate Resident District, and the 2 lots that we're seeking to create tonight are overly oversized and much bigger than the minimum required in that zoning district. Basically, what we're trying to do is we're trying to bookend what was done in 2007 with lot 1 and 2, with creating the lot in depth with lot 3. And again, that was a condition that was in the ordinance when it was passed in 2007. In addition, there was a restrictive covenant that was recorded in 2008 that basically mirrored what the ordinance also provided. As Mike noted, there is a tree conservation area along the south side of the new proposed lot to the south, and we're trying to preserve that. So there is the access road directly on the east side of the property, which we're going to try to use as much as that possible, and combined with the stem, so that there's not a necessity to put a second driveway through that tree conservation easement. So reviewing the standards, there's practical difficulties with regard to this property, which necessitates us to seek a zoning variance tonight, because alternatives to this design would be much more onerous on the neighborhood, would disturb the conservation easement area, and would not comport well with the Crabtree Farm subdivision. There are no similar properties than this. This is a unique situation. This is part of a 250-acre tract of land that goes from this is the southern point going to the north. Much effort, as I mentioned, has been given to try to not disturb the tree conservation area, and that area would be disturbed if the variance was not granted. This is not rooted in some special privilege. No special privilege is requested herein. And the new home, by designing it this way, comports well with what was done in 2007 directly to the west, and it would be in harmony with the plan that was promoted almost 20 years ago. The standards, the rest of the standards were addressed in our application. I would note that the conditions that are set forth in the staff report are acceptable to the applicant, and therefore we request that that you recommend to the village council that you recommend this application with the conditions that are noted in the staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Bernstein.
And we're available for any questions you have.
Did you say that, I don't understand why you don't, with the driveway that's there now, you're not going to use that one for?
Well, that's actually an access road because there's actually the property to the east, their main driveway is to the north, and that's
Right.
like a second exit. We're gonna try to use that as much as possible. I don't, it's not really showing here whether that's completely in the STEM area. So as much as that's in the STEM area, we're gonna try to continue to use that. But then there'll be there'll be one driveway going to the, we'll be going to proposed lot 2, which is the southern lot, and then we'll continue through the STEM to lot 1. So we'll try to use it as much as possible. I'm not so sure where it's located right now as I stand here.
Is there any contemplation of using the existing driveway to the north of proposed Lot 1 as the access point for that lot?
We don't have the ability to do it under the restrictive covenant.
Understood.
That's why we're seeking to do it this way.
Okay.
All right. Anyone else? Ms. Fisher?
To me, it seems like a lot of this was already laid out in 2007. So I'm not seeing an issue with the way it is. It does mirror the 2 lots to the west. So, you know, it seems like the only way to do this logically is to have the road run along, you know, to create the flag lot, which I know is the reason that we need a variance, but it does seem logical. It already seems to have occurred next door. It seems to have been outlined in 2007 that this is an option. It can't be subdivided any further than this. It already states. So my thoughts are it seems doable.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Aaron?
I would agree. You know, we generally try to avoid flag lots whenever we can. This is, I guess, an unusual circumstance of a flag lot in that they're both very large lots. I think our intent in avoiding flag lots is to make one smaller lot in front of perhaps a larger lot with vehicular access. So I think we can reconcile the fact that we may recommend to allow this flag lot and that it, as Member Fisher did mention, that it was contemplated in the original subdivision to do it this way. One question I do have is, are we only requesting demolition of the accessory structures because there's no residence on this lot? Is there any potential use for those structures as opposed to just requiring them to demolish?
Yeah, that is the only reason, right, because there's no principal structure currently on the lot. Okay. Well, I guess I should take that back. They're showing setback lines on the lot, and the accessory structures,
So
they
it's
don't
within-
all comply with those setback lines on the lot.
Okay, I'm good with that, though.
Reason,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you, Member Toll. Member Russell?
Overall, I'm very much in favor of the proposed subdivision. The lots are well above the minimum lot size that's required. I'm still struggling to understand why there really was a need for a flag lot. Do you feel that the main area of proposed lot 1, that the owner of that would not have an access right across the, up through the main road that has existed through the farm for?
Yes, that's part of the restrictive covenant that was recorded in 2008, that if this property was subdivided, that no motorized traffic can go north.
Well, when you say that, are you talking about on the driveway to the west of the
No, I'm talking
property?
to the north, to the north,
Oh, to the north, okay.
yes.
What
That was
about
the question.
But what about the driveway to the west? Why
The
can't?
drive to the west is not on our property.
That's a different lot.
That's a different lot.
I see.
Okay, so other than, I mean, other than a few technical issues that I caught, that I'm going to give to Mike, that I think to clean up the tentative plat, we should call it a tentative plat, because that's how our code works. It's called just the plat now, East Blodgett Avenue instead of Blodgett Avenue. There's a whole nest of utility boxes that are shown on the plat in the extreme southeast corner of Lot 2. I called the village engineer today. They're not an easement now. I suspect that there are underground utility lines that may be running across Lot 2. You're going to need, before final plat, you're going to need to identify where those utility lines run, because you may need to create additional easements or move the utilities. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think, well,
There's boxes there. I'm sure there's live utilities there, and they're not an easement. They're just sitting on Lot 2.
we'll have our civil take a look at that. Their civil engineer.
Okay. And then on the west edge of proposed Lot 2, there's a statement, proposed 25-foot utility easement. But it doesn't say, is that for a public utility? Is that for the benefit of Lot 1? That needs to be clarified.
I believe those are existing.
No, this is a proposed 25-foot utility easement on the west side of Lot. It doesn't say who it's for. That needs to be clear. Mike, I'm going to give you all these.
Okay.
Okay.
And then, one thing I'd like to see before the plat is recorded, for about 10 years, there's been 5 large concrete precast barriers sitting in the southeast corner of Lot 2 that were put there due to a property dispute about 10 years ago, that used to block that driveway. I think the village ought to require that they get out of there. They're unsightly. They don't need to be there. Literally, it's been 10 years, the large concrete barriers. I'm
Like
talking
Jersey
about?
barriers?
Yes,
Yeah,
the Jersey barriers.
Yes, okay.
Could make that, and
I didn't
all,
notice that, so.
and then there is the property all the way up in the upper corner there that says Lot 1, the Marion Tyler lot, above the proposed Lot 1, the next existing lot to the north, on your exhibit there, the northwest corner, up in the northwest corner, Mike, if you
Oh,
could
that-
shine.
that one?
Yeah, that property has a private sewer line that runs out to the roadway and then down, but the location of that needs to be verified, because that may need an easement also. And then, did I hear you say that you want the access to proposed Lot 2 to be off? Do you want it off of Blodgett Avenue, or you don't want it off Blodgett
No,
Avenue?
that's our only choice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not gonna have a separate curb cut for Lot 2. We're gonna, there's gonna be a shared driveway through the stem.
There is, okay, so,
That's just.
and I apologize, Mike, I don't know if it was you that told me, or if it was the village engineer that told me that the current owner of the property does not want a separate driveway into Lot 2, proposed Lot 2 from Blodgett Avenue, that they don't want it to occur.
Yeah, it wasn't me that said that.
Okay, it must have been Jeff.
Cal just said, I think.
But there's no prohibition on the plat right now to stop somebody from doing it, because the tree conservation area, as I recall, allows for the construction of a driveway of a certain width through the conservation area. So if you want to prohibit it, a driveway,
We could make
once
it
you
a-
sell the lot, it's too late.
Yeah.
You should put a restriction on the
Make it a
plat.
condition.
Yep, yep, okay. And that was it, then I'm in favor of all of the other staff recommendations.
Thank you, Member Russell. Member Barry?
I have nothing to add.
Okay. Member Miller?
Nothing more.
Yep. Just one.
Thank you.
Yeah. Why don't you ask a question? I have a few more questions, but I don't know if I swore you in.
No, do I have to be sworn in to just ask a question?
Yeah, public hearing. You'll have to.
It won't hurt.
I just need clarification. I did go on the website. I didn't see
Well,
this.
we should probably swear you in first, Ms. Lake.
Okay.
Yeah, raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? And if you could state your name for the record.
Lisa Dietrich. We live on Blodgett. But, so the road that we're talking about, is that the road that goes into the barn?
The current road.
That has the gate
Yes.
across it, the
Yes.
automatic gate, yes.
So that's what we're talking about. That would become the road into the 2 new houses. Yes.
That's right, yeah, that gate, the automatic gate is right here, and that would be the driveway into the houses.
Where the barriers are.
Yeah.
And the 2 houses here, they have their own driveway,
That's right,
and
right
that's
there.
that driveway.
Right.
Okay, and where's the barn on this picture?
Probably over
That
here.
is that
Like
it?
over here. It's not showing, but it's off of here,
Okay,
out to the east there.
okay, I'm just trying to like place it all in. Because there is already a road there, so it does make sense if you're gonna build a driveway to go in off the road that's already there, that goes to the barn.
Right.
Which is what I'm hoping is that.
Yes, but it definitely is.
Okay. I guess that's all my questions.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Bernstein, just a couple more questions that I have for you. I mean, very, very basic. So, no through traffic coming through Crabtree Farms at all?
No, there's-
Traffic ends up on the northern side?
We can't go north. That's subject to the restrictive covenant from 2008.
Okay.
I should
And-
say that, hey, no motorized traffic. You can use golf cart, you can walk that direction, but you can't use a motorized. I want to be precise.
And so we've got two houses on Lot 1, or one house on Lot 1, one on Lot 2 to the left, to the west, and then one on each lot
Yes.
contemplated here?
Yes.
Okay. So the impact on Blodgett should be minimal?
Yes. And this was contemplated again when this was done in 2007.
Okay. And any comments at all from the other owners in Crabtree Farms?
I don't believe so. I believe the owner reached out, and I don't think we had any comments back.
Okay. No, I mean, I think it's rather straightforward. You'd agreed to the various conditions. I think Mr. Russell incorporated another condition or two. I have no concerns either.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Wait, before you leave that, this tree assessment, is that the entire Crabtree Farm?
I believe that's our property.
That's just the-
That's the lot 3.
Their property.
Yeah.
Just on those two lots?
Yeah.
Is that many trees?
That's also the conservation easement, I believe, also, conservation area.
That's a lot of trees.
All right. Any further discussion among the commission? Yes, sir. We'll have to swear you in. If you could.
Come on up to the
Yeah.
podium and
Thank
identify
you.
yourself.
See any trees?
Yeah, if you could raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
And if you could state your name for the record and your address.
Mike Wilkins, 425 East Blodgett.
All right.
Just have a question similar to the person that was asking before, in relationship to maybe not what the people are asking, but just to educate me, is that since we live on Blodgett, we're concerned as a family, what you are agreeing to, if you agree to it, will that then incorporate going east, create the same lot type sizes that might be proposed?
No,
Makes sense?
this is only affecting that one property, only subdividing that one property. It's not changing the zoning or changing anything for the property further east.
They wouldn't use that as logic going east to say, hey, these are the lot sizes on what is already created, so therefore going east, we want the same lot sizes.
Well, the zoning already does allow that lot
It
size.
does?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
All right. So that's already in place.
yeah, that's right.
All right, thank you.
And just, sir, just for your clarification, yeah, the zoning, allows for a maximum of 1.5 acres per lot for all of the properties along Blodgett and Crabtree. They're going to have about 2.5 acre lots in this one, so they're proposing something larger than what would be allowed, but the other very important provision that you should understand is that there's a 200-foot conservation strip from the driveway that we've been talking about all the way down east to the end of the property, so there can't be any homes within 200 feet of the Blodgett right-of-way east of that location.
Okay, but it's still a lot size
But they
of an
could
acre
build,
and
they
a
could
half.
put houses behind to the north eventually one day. they could.
All right. And while I'm here, is that already been put in place with homes being prepared?
No plans.
No, no one's proposing any changes to the property to the east.
All right. Thanks for your time, guys.
Thank you, sir. Please. I recall.
So when it comes to water, the village has spent a lot of money shoring up Birch and redoing Birch because Birch was falling into the ravine. There's a lot of water that comes out of Crabtree. So if they're gonna build any kind of hardscape, which I get, can the water abatement be with the construction of the new houses to make sure that the water doesn't go east, come out of that ravine from Crabtree into the corner of Blodgett and Birch, which is where the flooding is?
Yeah, our village engineer will review a drainage plan when they apply for building permit to build.
Okay,
anything.
so that'll be, and then can we ask for a nicer fence? Instead of that chain link ugly fence that goes down?
Yeah.
That's all.
Good point.
Thank you. Any further discussion among the commissioners? All right. Do we have a motion?
I move to recommend the village board approve the tentative plat of subdivision and in the form of the attached approval order, conditioned upon the list of 5 original ones that are cited here by the staff, and then I think number 6, identify the utility lines and easements, including, George, you had a question about Lot 1, the north Lot 1, utility lines and easements. Second, remove the concrete barriers. Would that be a condition? Number 8, I guess, proposed, okay, I forgot the other. Proposed west Lot 2.
It was, address the proposed 25-foot utility
That was it.
easement for the benefit
Right.
of who, yep. And check into whether a sewer easement is needed for the, Lot 1 that's to the northwest.
Correct.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? If we could have a vote, please.
Okay. Member Berry,
Yes.
Member Fisher,
Aye.
Member Miller,
Aye.
Member Russell,
Aye.
Member Toll,
Aye.
and Chair Peters.
Aye. Thank you. Next steps?
Yeah, we'll get you scheduled for the village board.
All right. Okay, agenda item number 6, Mr. Croak, if you could introduce that, please.
Sure. So this item is a discussion of the draft modeling of the R5 zoning district. At our December meeting, we had a discussion about this, and one thing that came out of that was there was definitely an interest in, on the part of PCZBA members and also the public, to see a wider range of the housing typologies in the three-dimensional drawing. And, in particular, we heard from people that they wanted to see some of the smaller housing types like duplexes shown in the 3D modeling. So staff and Jody Mariano from Tesca took a look to see where the smaller housing types might realistically fit in the R5. And we've tentatively identified some areas here. And before we have Tesca actually do the 3D modeling, we wanted to confirm that the PCZBA thinks we've identified the right areas to model those smaller housing typologies. And then, keep in mind, this is all, ultimately going to the goal of drafting revised bulk regulations to the R5 eventually.
All right, who'd like to start?
Mike, I'm a little confused by the goal stated this evening, why we would want to make a decision now as to what properties in the R5 district we would look at for smaller size structures. I mean, there are so many different owners in this area, and the redevelopment is going to occur in any of 1,000 different ways. And I don't want it to go on paper that the PCZBA has recommended that these 5 properties only have duplexes. It doesn't make sense to me that we in any way lock ourselves in. I just don't, I'm having real trouble with that concept.
I was going to ask a very similar question, very similar,
Ditto.
about the commitment to this long-term.
So Drew Irvin, Lake Bluff Village Administrator. I think that came up last time. So the reason why the goal was added, I don't know if you guys broke into you probably, as soon as you get your package, you start tearing open and read them through immediately. But so we changed the memo, I think it was yesterday, to reflect this modification to clarify that the end goal is to have words, changes to the regulatory environment, so that the zoning code. It is not to have, this is not an RFP. We're not identifying properties we want to redevelop. That's not what this is. But in order to, at least from our perspective and what we thought you wanted to do, was to look at what these would look like in the context of the existing neighborhood, because the goal is to protect the character of the neighborhood and the zoning districts. How best to do that but in the backdrop of the existing neighborhood? And it's not, we're not targeting a particular property as saying this is the ideal spot to achieve this type of property, but it is a lot, it is in that zoning district, and it is in the backdrop of structures that have existed, at a variety of scales. And so that's why this is the palette or canvas in which we'll paint on this to say, this is what it could look like in this location. It's not saying this is a targeted lot, this particular property, but you have to do it somewhere. I guess you can create, we talked about the idea of creating some fake town and say we could do that, but I think the goal was to do it in the neighborhood that we're talking about. At the end of the day, the code will not have these drawings. These are working drawings to get to written words in the code. So at the end of this, there won't be. I had this conversation with a resident who said, I don't like my property being shown as a 4-flat. I understand that. That's not, we haven't identified her. And so it's just the idea of saying this is a place where that could happen. And given its proximity to, contiguous lots that are developed as single family, single story or 2-story, it's the idea that that's the neighborhood where it is. And so you have to do it somewhere. So it's not a target. This is not an RFP, development of RFP at all. It's a way to facilitate the development of new code language. So to your point, Mr. Russell, that is not the intent to say this is it and this is fine. You can move these around anywhere you want. And that was why we wanted to have this conversation publicly and say it is not an RFP. This is not a call for these particular lots and only these lots. It is to have a conversation, develop models that facilitate what you guys want to see, that you believe is keeping with the character, and how else can you do it? So, other than creating some fictitious space, which we could do, and rename the streets, we can do that. I don't know if that's helpful, but I think it was just an honest way to do it, so.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean,
Yep.
I understand that the R5 regulations are very, very strenuous, difficult to work with.
Yeah.
We've heard that for a long, long time, to encourage any type of redevelopment, and that we need to come up with some new regulations to
Match the vision.
encourage redevelopment to occur up to a point. And as long as that's the goal and it's not, and I didn't get a chance to read the new latest
Oh.
and greatest cover memo, so
Oh,
maybe,
it's
sorry that I
fantastic.
didn't jump on it today. But that makes more sense to me, that we're still, the goal still is to come up,
Yeah.
the primary goal is to come up with tweaks or modifications to the R5 regs, and then analyze if we implemented those to the maximum permitted, how would that look in different locations in the R5?
And what you don't also see, we added back from the missing middle housing study, they had little visual aids about the variety of typologies from detached single family up to like, I think it was like 8 to 15 units. And so that was kind of the continuum we were talking about, you know, a duplex, a triplex, court.
Right, because
Yeah.
I do think that it's going to be concerning for, you know, for a lot of people that, okay, if you just look at the north end of Washington, where right now there's a lot of units and they're very, very affordable, and then if you look at replacing that with 6 row houses, you know, we're going to be 120 Scranton again, dollars, you know, and so we're taking something affordable and then we're going to make it something less affordable. So I just can imagine people really getting scared by that kind of thing. And the other question that I have, and I don't know what's the right answer, but when you go ahead and do this kind of stuff, the gentleman, I think his name was Nick Anderson, last meeting, a commercial broker who mentioned that, you know, are we just sort of giving, I mean, my read of what he said was, are we just giving away the store by going in early and identifying, I mean, I don't know what the line is that you take it just so far, but then we still can get them offering things, you know, developers offering things to have public good and this and that goes into it. I just am afraid we're going to give away the store. You know, if we come in too much and say, okay, this is what we're willing to accept here, well, then there's no incentive. Then they just kind of come in and cherry pick and say, okay, well, right here I can do this, and not necessarily give public things. Maybe I'm wrong in this, so.
Yeah, I don't know that this level, again, this is more of trying to figure out how, I don't know the degree to which the line's gonna move on all these bulk regulations, or any of them, but I don't think what we're gonna do precludes you from talking about what other public amenities, because that's already in the comp plan, talking about like
Okay.
shared parking opportunities, and all that is in there, kind of, what are some of the asks? Well, I didn't get a chance to talk about, but those are in the comp plan, right? Those types of,
Right, I just don't want to lose those, Leslie,
Right.
because
I
I
don't-
think there's
I
a
don't-
lot of
I don't think-
negotiating
I don't
points
think
we
you
can
do.
get there.
because I think, as developers have shown so far, is that they know where to ask for those, what they think will get them over the finish line, right?
Right. As long as we don't
Developers
just
are very
hand them.
astute in that regard,
Right,
yeah.
right. That's
But
my
I
only.
agree, I had the same reaction.
Yeah.
Mr. Anderson, was it, that made that
Yeah, I
comment?
think in the minutes
It
his
was an
name was
interesting
Mr.
point. If you relax your rules too much, and,
don't think
and
that's
then, well, I know, but that was his point.
Yeah.
And then they can come in and comply with everything. Well, number one, then we can't stop them.
Right.
Because they comply completely with the code, or it'd be difficult. I mean, give Courtney a job to try and stop them if they comply with the code. But I'm on your same wavelength, though. We
Okay.
need to
The
not.
village is, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was done. Other than, you know, it might, because there is the worry of angst. You know, we heard from some of the neighbors
Yeah.
at the last meeting, and it might be helpful if any of the exhibits that Tesca prepares of this type, that they come up with a canned phrase that you can put on all these, because these gets passed around without any other context, and somebody here reads, convert my single family to a 2-flat. Maybe we could have a general statement on all these exhibits that says these are conceptual. It's not meant to apply to a.
Just a concept study. I understand what you're saying.
But you look at an individual lot and it's awfully specific in the recommendations, and that was my big question coming in. Are you really
We
proposing
can
that?
move it to the lot next door. It doesn't, the point
Okay.
is saying, we pick something, and some of it, obviously, there was some geography, like some of it's closer to the train lots than others, right? And then you would think, well, that maybe makes sense to allow for extra density there, and that's why some of those decisions were made in terms of what we picked. But we could, I could talk to you about, taking the street names off and maybe make it more cartoony or something, something. I don't know if that's helpful.
No, I don't, I'd rather, these aerials are nice, but you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
I do,
That-
yeah.
So
We can
don't
put more
wanna-
disclaimers on there.
We do
Yeah,
not want to
yeah.
raise angst if we
Yeah.
don't have to.
Right.
And get anyone upset.
And all that is, it is not going, one, I don't think the village's approach to zoning has ever been leaning toward as of right. That has not been the case.
But I
So-
think people hear that kind of.
I can show them
I know.
plus
but
years of
just from the
history that that is
questions-
not the case.
From the questions that we
Yeah.
had, you know, that one day,
Yeah.
they don't pay attention till it's about them. You know, most people don't, so.
So we can put more disclaimers on these drawings and try to make it absolutely clear with size 50 font. And then we can, what I want to say is that when we talk about this internally, we're trying to balance all the issues of you have this existing multifamily stock that's not the highest and best use, but you have to acknowledge what you've talked about already, is that once you scrape it to put in more units,
Gonna be
the
expensive.
price goes up.
Yeah.
And so most of this, almost everything you see here, we've tried to manage some of that by saying, okay, none of this is gonna be underground parking. Or maybe do one of these, so you try to find ways to meet the market and try to get to, again, the village is trying to have some attainable housing, right? And try to work towards, we do have an affordable housing plan, right? But it's been, most of everything in Lake Bluff has been market driven. And so trying to stay within the reality of that, so.
Can you also just do an overlay somehow that just says, okay, R5 is right here, or, looking at this, it only looks like the ones in red are the ones that we're talking about. Are they only the ones that we're talking about?
Well, we showed some other more, I would say, more on the bigger continuum of the missing middle housing of like the 8 to plus units. Because that's what we see happening, the idea this is what the market is allowing. We wanted to be real in that concept and saying, and it's gonna be expensive, but that's mostly the type of
No, I'm
projects
just
you will
saying,
see.
is this whole area able to be redone, or is it just this area, or?
This is really, everything you see with the exception of the one building on Sheridan Road is all within the R5. We can, if you want to
Okay.
see crystal clear where the line is for R5, we can put that on there so you know exactly where it is.
Or just say it's R5?
Yeah.
I see Mark Stolzenberg wants to talk to us through Zoom. Should I go to him? Okay.
That'd be fine.
Okay, Mark, you can speak.
Great, thanks so much. Good, and thank you everyone for your service in the PCZBA and for spending another late night at the Village Hall. As you know, I am the owner of 16 East North, which is a single-family home. I also own the side-by-side duplex at 14 East North. And I did have a few comments at at the last meeting on December 18th, I believe it was. And I think everyone was in agreement that that last model from December 18th was pretty heavy in terms of density. I had also raised the point at that meeting that none of the modeling, that we saw from Tesca and that the village staff apparently had approved to pass along to the PCZBA, had really any mention or any concepts of the missing middle, kind of theory that the village has been kicking around now for a couple of years. So, and in fact, Jody Mariano, the Tesca consultant who's been apparently working with the village on this, pointed out that the property I own at 14 East North, is the type of missing middle that we may want to consider, for proliferation or in the village, or at least, for other sites in the village. So I think I was a little surprised when I saw this model that had a 4-flat where at, conceptually located at 14 East North, which again is a, structure that the consultant who wrote the concept said that the existing structure there is a good example of missing middle that we want to keep. I was also a little surprised to see, in this concept, 10 East North, a camp house taken out. And I'm, in addition to being the owner of those two properties, I'm also the anonymous resident who Drew spoke with on Monday, right? And I said to Drew, did you remember the conversation we had on December 18th about missing middle, how Jody acknowledged that, yeah, the duplex at 14 East North is a good example of that. I'm like, why are we still looking at these denser topologies? I'm also a little surprised to see a 4-flat with no setback right next to my single-family home, right? And to your comment, Member Fisher, unlike some people, I pay attention when it's not about me, but here it particularly impacts me, so I'm definitely paying attention, right? And I think I've also made clear personally, I'm not a NIMBY. I'm not against multifamily housing. I've put my money where my mouth is, and I agree that the R5 regulations need to be updated. But again, I think we're putting the cart before the horse here. I think we need to have a discussion that, what do we want to see rather than just throwing 2 flats and 4 flats on a map and having it modeled, right? Because I think to the point being raised at the very beginning here, developers are going to see this and you can't unring that bell. And if the village puts out a document saying, yeah, take out a camp home and, replace it with a multifamily building, is that the historic preservation message our village wants to send? I think we are a step ahead of ourselves here. And I think we still need to have a better discussion about how do we want to implement missing middle in R5 if we want to do that? And what kind of topologies do we want to see? And as I pointed out to Drew, we shouldn't do it in a way that you did with the 2015 downtown visioning survey. Now, Drew's going to say that was about aesthetics, but it was the aesthetics of high density buildings. And a lot of residents said, we don't want high density, right? Let's talk about what type of building we should have first. So, I don't know what we're doing here, but I think we are ahead of ourselves. And I think we need to talk about what do we want higher density to look like and what do we want multifamily to look like. And I don't think that doing 3D models of 4 flats with no setbacks is the way to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stolzenberg.
I could comment on
Sure,
that.
sure,
Yeah.
Drew.
So obviously, like I said earlier, and I don't know when Mark came on the line, but the idea that this is not targeting any particular property, this is purely a conceptual study. And the idea, we did have a conversation about his properties, and that I told him, I said, that's exactly why maybe we use that as a model, because we know we're not targeting that to take it out. This is not a target, so that made it simpler in my mind. But again, this is a very common way to get to where the village is trying to get to in terms of amending its regulations. And we can make it as blunt as an instrument as possible. Certainly the units that were part of this first draft of modeling that we showed you were on that continuum of missing middle housing. There's a lot of variety on that. Those units are consistent with that. There was other typologies shown. This new drawing list, this new exhibit shows different, starts with, I think, 2 flats with some ADUs, and it works its way, it has more variety of missing middle, as opposed to more, again, what we viewed as what was probably probable in the current marketplace, what could happen. But nonetheless, I think the goal of this is to create a variety of typologies that have been talked about during the village's comp plan development and missing middle housing study, and that this exhibit, if you all support it, then we'll go work with Tesca to bring back modeling of it, and we'll try to make crystal clear that this is a concept plan and a study, and make that as the best way we can make it.
Is there a mechanism, Drew, by which we could maybe reach out to certain property owners and perhaps get their consent to allow the village in a public domain to explore that on their property? I mean, I'm looking at one here on Washington. It's four structures. I don't know if it's 4 different owners or one owner, but.
I mean, we could. I mean, I know that's not the first time. I know before I came to the village, there was the 98 Tesca study. There was some households that were upset that their properties were shown as future parking, potentially.
Oh, yeah.
And that was upsetting, and the village took it off.
So maybe it would be better to have a generic Anytown USA, but have elements of Lake Bluff mixed into it.
We could do that. I'm sure we can find a way to do that.
I think that would alleviate some of the angst among the homeowners. I'm sure there are examples of Lake Bluff-like towns that we want to potentially explore slightly higher density. but not have specific streets and specific homes.
I'll talk to Task about that, if that's the consensus for everybody, try to make this more diluted, so to speak, or less, too close to home.
Yeah, I think there's just a high level of sensitivity and
Yep.
Yeah, I think it lets people address it more objectively maybe than emotionally, you know.
Okay.
And
Feedback?
it doesn't even give the implication that we are suggesting that this specific place on this specific block be a specific type of unit. And even if it says concept study, there is the, I guess, thought that, oh, the PCZBA, this is what they want, so this is what's gonna happen. So I think anonymizing it would be helpful.
Okay.
I have just a more basic question.
Yep.
So you introduce something like this or some future version like this to us, and that's to facilitate a conversation among us, which then allows you to redraft or edit existing code? Is that
Yes.
where this is headed?
Yep.
Using our input for language, what we come,
Your input for appropriate scale, mostly scale and setbacks, bulk standards, really, that's what's gonna come down to, like a volume of mass that can be filled on properties. How close to a neighboring property should, we know what single families look like in R4 and the R5, this is what the current setback is, but to accommodate higher densities, you may have to spread out a little, or go further back on the lot, or, push certain areas of those lots more so than they're allowed to today to facilitate greater density.
is it, maybe this isn't a reasonable question, is it reasonable to provide this committee with a checklist of the kinds of things you want us to provide feedback on? To get it, because I'm having trouble seeding this conversation, like,
Yeah.
what's the first thing to say to get it going, and then,
Yeah.
once it gets going, it'll take a life of its own, but it's
Yep,
like,
yeah.
I'm struggling, because I'm the rookie too, I'm struggling with it.
And there's,
Just getting
it's,
started.
and that's why we have Tesca to come in too, because it's like you show, okay, I'm okay with this makes sense, this doesn't, this makes sense, this doesn't. And there, because of the way the model works, we can extract out, okay, that's a 7-foot setback versus what it is today, maybe it's 15 or 20. So we know that that's what that translates to, that we can say, okay, now, this is what we think you said in terms of your preferences. Visually, you said we are okay with this. That results in this code. Then we can test it for you and say, so this could be allowed here. Is that what you thought? So you can develop regulations around those preferences for bulk.
Well, because I think, it really seems like if you could almost just give us a blank of this without the houses, we're pretty much a set, whatever the, 50-foot lots or whatever, okay, you could take certain streets and say, okay, there's 10 of them in a row here, and they back to such and such. Does that help to start with more of a blank palette, kind of, where we say, okay, on these lots, we can either combine two of them and we can do the 8-plex or whatever. I don't know if it makes it harder or easier.
I think the technology today exists that we can take the existing satellite, we can get very specific and say, this is what's out there today, right now. And that's the beauty of this, but also the rub, right? So I think we could dull it.
Back it up.
I
think
don't know.
initially it'd be helpful
Yeah.
to have an anonymous and make it Anytown USA, just to get a concept of, okay, we've got these existing single-family homes and we're looking to maybe do some other thing than single-family homes. And I think that's the point of discussion, is what we see in replacing, say, a 3-unit, 1-story apartment building in a neighborhood with something else, whatever that might be, among the neighborhood and mixed in with these other single-family homes. That's the discussion, is are we okay with the look of that or the feeling of that?
It's never been acknowledged that anybody would like a 3-story or 2-story home next to their single-family home, whenever we've had this discussion. They don't want it in my neighborhood. And it seems like we're being very redundant in these conversations with this missing middle. I find it hard to believe that, at least in this generation, that this will ever come to pass because of people not wanting that. It's a nice discussion, but in my mind, it's pie in the sky right now, because it's not realistic. It's good for the future, and maybe we should think about 10 years from now, or 20 years from now, when maybe it'll be more acceptable to the next 2 generations down, where they want to live on top of their neighbor. But for Lake Bluff, it doesn't work. And we've tried this a number of times to try to fit things in, and next door neighbor says, not on my block. No. So to me, I'm very frustrated in talking about this because I don't think it's going to happen. If you want to talk about, the future, sure. But maybe we should, again, have just a blank slate and say, well, we can put something here, we can put something there. But somebody like Mark will come in and say, you can't put that there, it's too big. I don't even know if there's an answer.
Well, I think the answer is, the comp plan says you want to find out.
Well,
right?
we know, right now, we know what we know what we.
I think maybe not, because I think there was general support saying like, well, what if a house that looks like an existing house right now, but it's actually a 2-flat?
But they don't want those 4 cars in their driveway next door to them.
Most houses have 4 cars already,
But it's different.
Yeah, well, I think there's something that exists that probably will be acceptable.
In the future.
Maybe, it depends on the product. I think it depends on the product type and so forth, but,
In the market, if that's the only way that you can get into Lake Bluff is by being in a duplex, because
Yeah.
it's the only affordable house.
If it is
affordable, being,
It is affordable.
And
probably $750,000, but, that's, might be some young family's only option.
Well, and I think that's the one
the market
model
might
that
drive
kind
it.
of got the most buzz
Action,
about
yeah,
it.
yeah.
And maybe we do start there. Maybe we say, okay, here's a model and focus rather than on all of these 12 different options that are pie in the sky for now, maybe.
Well, and another thing we can do as part of the modeling is also start off with, why don't we take a couple lots and show you what somebody can do as of right now? And show you, because I didn't like that. I don't want to see that. Maybe that's not what we want, and let's make sure the regulations match what we want.
But if we do it, it's different than if you take the person whose house is next door to what, we can zone and make recommendations, but when it comes down to, again, I don't want that next to my house. I don't want 4 cars.
Well, but the idea of doing by right, I think that would be helpful. If I know that, okay, next door, you can by right today, somebody can come along and.
Buy 3 lots and do this.
Yep.
Unfortunately, that's true, but you'll see the temperament of this community rise.
Well, I think more the reason to drill down on the code and get it right to reflect what the village does want there.
Okay, I think that's reasonable, but again, I wouldn't put out specific lots. I think we have to be very
That is crystal
generic.
Work on that.
I see Mark would like to speak again.
Yeah.
If this is the appropriate moment, go ahead, Mark.
But I appreciate it, and thanks again. And look, in Elliot, with all due respect, I think you're putting words in my mouth here a little bit, particularly given that I just expanded the parking next door so I can get 4 cars, for the duplex that I'm in the process of rehabbing, right? So I think, and I appreciate the direction this conversation is going, because I think what we need to do here is look at the scale and look at the topologies that are available out there before we start making decisions. Certainly I don't think it's helpful to be building $2 million condos all over this town, right? I think that we do need to have more affordable options so that people can come to Lake Bluff, enjoy it, and put down roots here, right? But, when I see a document that puts a 4-flat with apparently no setback right next to my house, then yeah, I'm going to speak up and try and protect my investment. And I think anyone sitting at that dais right now is going to do the same thing. And I think any rational person is going to try and protect, their largest investment, which is typically their home, right? So, to the point of the village's temperament, I think part of the way to work through that is by process and by making sure that we've engaged in an inclusive and thorough discussion of what the options are in kind of taking people's temperatures to what they want to see, right? And, certainly there was an interesting proposal several years back that I know we discussed last month. And Elliot, I don't think you were there last month, but, I think it was Mickey who brought up a proposal that I think Brad Anderson made for a house that was for sale back on Washington. It was 15 East Washington. And, there were two issues there. One was parking, because there wasn't really a good place to put the parking on that lot. And it was kind of this cool, frankly, it was kind of a cool concept. It looked like, it was kind of a townhome / row home there. And also the setback was the problem too. There was no way to build it without it literally being on top of, 19 East Washington, right? Like there was no setback. So I think if we can have a discussion where we work through these things, I mean, certainly if it's not 7 stories standing over my house, right, and causing, problems for my property, look, I bought in the R5 district and I understand that. And I agree that we need to modernize these zoning regulations. But I think it's kind of going back to the do no harm, right? Which is a concept that I know that we've talked about in multiple, PCZBA meetings. How do we achieve that? And I think the way to do that is how do we kind of balance what's there? And I think that's where I'm coming down here. And the other thing is a document like this, like a developer's going to see this, and you can put, concept study in 100-point font on it, and that lights up and, it's 3D jumping off the page. But, a developer's going to see that, and it's a document put out by a government. So people are going to assume it has some sort of force to it. So I think kind of the anonymized Anytown USA approach is good, because I think it gives us a more objective basis to look at what's out there and what the options are. So thanks so much, and thanks for listening to me. I know you've heard a lot from me over the years, so I appreciate it.
Oh, thanks, Mark.
Member Miller, just for what it's worth, I think that product that was being discussed of East Washington was a 3-unit, I think it was 2 stories.
Yeah.
Well, it was a duplex, but maybe 3.
I think it started off as 3,
Okay.
and they thought maybe.
Went down to about the
Yeah.
duplex.
See,
Parking, I know, was a huge issue.
with Mark's discussion, it was his idea, it was your choice to do what you did. I'm not saying, what I'm saying is a lot of people don't want that, not necessarily you.
No, I understand that. And no, I totally understand that, Elliot, and I appreciate that.
So
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So I think going back to a blank slate and saying, well, something like this design could fit in if it works out, I think it's probably safer.
So we're gonna, Anytown USA, we're gonna say concept, and then we're also going to,
But it can't be too generic, right? I mean,
we'll do the best we can.
because it's not a blank slate,
You work with our
right?
lot sizes.
It's not a blank slate.
Right.
We are.
Yeah.
It's not like we have all this land that we're developing fresh, right? So it can't be too generic, and it can't be a total blank slate. It has to be.
Well,
Linkages.
It has to be perfect.
Right. Washington is now north is now Washington.
Like most of our lots in this area are 125 feet deep.
Yeah.
So
Right.
the-
So
it
just
should
do
be-
what we have,
Yeah, you gotta
Right.
be able to drop it in. So the other thing, I guess, that we do need to monitor, and that Courtney had commented on after someone in the audience commented on last month, was the issue of the new state regulation about
Parking.
we're not going to be able to require any parking for a new development within 1/2 mile of the train station, or something to that effect, which is a huge change. And if that, I mean, is that definitely going into law and
done.
Yes,
essentially?
it's done, it's signed, the People Over Parking Act.
And that has nothing to do with village rights.
It's a
preempts
state,
home
it preempts home rule. There's other provisions in our village code that we can rely on for parking, but that law does preempt us to require certain parking standards if they're within a designated area of a transit hub, and then those terms are defined. So that is something just, I mean, it's gonna be fact-specific that we'll have to look at, depending on what the development is and the kind of project that we're looking into, but that is going to be a factor.
For example,
When is that coming into law?
I believe,
July 1.
July,
Yeah.
Making everything built before
2026.
July.
Yes.
So, for example, there is a petition that's been submitted to convert the third floor of Block 1 to 6 to 8 apartments, luxury apartments. When that development was originally approved, it allowed for residential on the second and third floors. And, but there were some other controlling elements, conditions of approval in the zoning relief that limited how the parking stalls could be utilized. And so the owner is coming forward to say they want to ask for relief from certain aspects of that to meet the apartment needs. And their expectation for luxury apartments, they're going to need 2 stalls per unit. So that is within that distance of the train station, but at the same time, they know their consumer is going to want this. And they're trying to do it in a convenient way, right? They're not going to want to walk great distance. So the reality is, price point's going to dictate how far people are willing to walk in reality. And just because the regulation says we can't make them supply it, doesn't mean they can willy-nilly park on North Avenue overnight, right? So it's just, there's still have to live within regulations.
So what do you do under those circumstances?
I'm sorry?
What can you possibly do and there's no parking available and they want 2 parking spaces per unit? And what do people do then?
For, like, what's their petition? How does it read?
No, I mean, just logically.
Yeah.
I mean, where would you put cars if you're,
On the existing property. They just reassign them to others. They may be utilized by a tenant, or a retail tenant right now, or an office tenant who's on the 3rd floor who won't exist anymore.
no, they own the parking lot.
Almost all of it.
Yeah,
It was condoed out, there was 4 partitioned off for GGL, then GGL.
Maybe they'll dig underground and put an underground garage in there.
That's not part of the petition.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What's going to happen, just to change the pace, I'm curious, on Walnut and North, what's going to happen with that white house that's got it?
The one that's being torn down next week?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's being torn down.
I know, anything in its place?
There's a concept plan
here.
in front of you.
Well,
Actually, I think
I
it
should turn it over.
remaining
huh?
green.
Good, good.
But again, that's just a concept, doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, well, you want a 2.5-story flat there,
Yeah.
2 units.
Yeah.
Interesting. But there's nothing planned right now. Why are you tearing it
Just
down?
like the village owns a property to the west of it as well, and the village purchased that and other properties over time in the CBD to land bank them. So should there be a redevelopment, the village is a player in that and a controlling element.
Not putting a parking lot there.
That is not the plan,
Okay, good.
unless you guys want to recommend that. Combine that with the back end of Walnut and the existing parking lot, now you have something of substance.
Okay. Just as long as we don't tear down the trees. Okay. So where do we go from here with this?
So I'm gonna go talk with Tesca about the Anytown USA and working with to try to make it easier to be, make it easy for you guys to work through. And we will also bring in model what you can do as of right. I think that would be helpful to some degree, so people know that, hey, is that what we really want?
It already
Can
happened here.
Tesca model it so the home, the buildings are just fit into the community rather than standing out like the new buildings on Block 3? I mean, they really stand out. But can they model it so that you have maybe a two flat that looks like a single home where the cars aren't an issue? Having 4 cars.
Yeah, these models are very generic. They're more just 3-dimensional boxes.
Because I think if you can show the community that this will blend in, if it gets built, it'll be a lot more acceptable.
Well, and I think from this kind of thing,
That kind of shows
This
that.
helps a
I don't know if
lot.
you got a chance to look at that.
right, this helps a lot, and I think that if we just kind of focus on the ones, we don't need all these other ones that get
that from the
into
last meeting?
18 units.
That was in the packet.
That was just emailed out the other day, it wasn't in the
Oh, okay.
original packet.
Maybe
those
bring
were
it
the
in-
ones
maybe
that
get it- bring
people
it in the
liked.
next time.
Yep.
Or seemed to get behind
Yeah.
before.
Maybe that's a place to start.
It
Should have been
At
at some
your
place.
Yeah.
Oh,
you've
it's
got
here.
one.
There's a wonderful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we added it. Yeah, I think it's.
Yeah, I personally find
Round and
these
scared.
type of exhibits more helpful than
I'll find it.
a white box.
Yep.
It's tough. The white boxes are tough.
Well, if
But
they
I
could
do-
even
yeah, it's
show,
also
show
very-
one on a 50 or a 60 by 125 lot, you know, what's the appropriate scale? You know, whether it's single family by right or duplex.
I think we'll get to that level of scale, but we're trying to, you know, it's
Right.
kind of, we're using wider paintbrushes right now.
Right.
Just go on.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Any other thoughts from the commissioners?
What's the word on the second development on block 3? Do they have a time frame?
No, they're still working through, their team, getting that ready to go.
And as Sam Badger would ask,
I don't recall what
what's
Sam
Sam
would add.
Badger's question every month?
What's coming up?
Stonebridge,
Oh,
no news.
you may see that this year.
Oh, this is some interesting.
See what? I missed that.
Stonebridge.
That'll be an interesting.
Time to retire, Jerry.
Yeah, thanks for the heads up, Drew.
Fast. Or Sam, the ghost of Sam did.
That's exciting then, if that's the case.
Any other thoughts, Drew?
Oh, one thing, if he does build out homes on block 1, what do you think the pricing will be?
The apartments?
Millions, probably.
No, it'd be luxury rentals.
Oh, rentals. Oh, that's interesting.
But I think it's in excess of $3,000 a month.
Oh,
That's the market right now.
Interesting.
All right. Good. Oh, thank you, Drew.
Pay $3,000 a month and not have an indoor.
Agenda item number 7, staff report. Maybe we covered that.
Yeah, I don't have anything. to
That
report.
box.
And 8, commissioners report. I think we probably covered that too. Anything else, or do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you, Drew.